The Ballad of Gatito Negro, Episode 12, Recovery and Remedies. Welcome, loyal readers, to another action-packed episode of our story. Today we'll be following our players into the fire and truly begin to understand how strong the power of your words can be. And we'll let you decide if the idea of getting even can snowball into a situation that may cause you to rethink your petty decisions. So if you're down for the ride, grab your wine and crackers. Let's jump in. No recap. Chapter 1. As Doug and Pete are riding in an unmarked police car, Doug checks his pager and becomes visibly irritated. He sucks his teeth and begins to turn down a side street. Pete gets confused and asks Doug, "Hey Doug, the hospital's the other way. Where are we going?" Doug stares at Pete and asks, "Does Ramon have legs, Petey?" "What does that have to do with anything?" Pete asks, confused. "Ramon's not going nowhere. I have to make a call," says Doug as he pulls up to a payphone in a local Jersey City project. "Wait here." Doug hops out of the car and briskly jogs to the phone booth. Doug calls the number and the phone begins to ring. "Hello?" asks the woman who answers. "Mary, it's Doug. Sorry about earlier, but I need to see you again this weekend. I'll pay you double." "Doug, I told you I'm not going to see you anymore after you stiffed me this morning. Plus, I have a real high roller coming in from the city this weekend. He pays, sweetie, unlike your broke-ass Doug." "Do you love him?" Doug asks, irritated. "'Cause I got a few moves I want to try on you. Look, Doug, you're a great lay, but you're always somewhere else when you're with me. You don't know the first thing about love," says Mary before she hangs up the phone. "Damn," says Doug as he walks back to the car with his shoulders slumped. Doug gets in without a word and takes the wheel and begins to drive without saying nothing to Pete. 15 minutes pass in awkward silence as they drive, and Pete is obviously irritated. "Where are we, Doug? This ain't the hospital." Doug gets out and goes into a local bodega for another 15 minutes and comes out with 2 cigars and a bottle of whiskey. He hops back in the car, looks at Pete and says, "I think we got off on the wrong foot, Petey. I want to show you how excited I am to have you as a partner. I hope you're thirsty because I got us something to drink." "I don't drink on the clock, Doug," says Pete as he pushes away the whiskey bottle. "Suit yourself," says Doug as he takes a big swig, then says, "All right, let's go see Ramon." Another 15 minutes pass as they arrive at the hospital. The duo hop out of the car and proceed to the front desk to find Ramon's room number. They can't help but notice the hospital is in a panic and the nurses and doctors are running around in a frenzy. "I wonder what's going on," says Pete curiously. "This is way too hectic for normal." "You ask a lot of questions, Petey. It's a hospital," Doug says nonchalantly. At that moment, the hospital director walks up to them and says, "Sorry guys, but Ramon just moved to the ICU. He can't take any visitors right now. He just went into cardiac arrest." Doug ignores the director and forces his way in as Pete follows, and they see Ramon being operated on. Doug pushes the doctors aside and slaps Ramon across the face and demands he know what happened to him. "Are you crazy?" asks the doctor, shocked at his blatant disregard for this man's life. "Tell me who did this to you, Ramon," says Doug aggressively. Ramon's eyes open and he begins rambling nonsense. But then he drops a seemingly small but valuable clue for our 2 detectives. "You're wrong about Luna, Mama. She's great." Then his eyes close and he flatlines. Doug grabs the defibrillator off the wall and shocks Ramon's body a couple times and his vitals come back to a slow pulse, but he doesn't wake up. Ramon's in a coma. The hospital director then demands the 2 men to leave immediately and they exit the hospital. Pete and Doug begin heading back to the car and Pete asks, visibly uncomfortable with Doug's actions today, "What the hell was that, Doug? You broke every protocol I can think of. Veronica's not going to be happy about this." Then Doug reaches in the glove compartment and pulls out a siren and mounts it on the roof through his window and begins to drive a little faster. "Where are we going now?" Pete asks a little aggressively. "We're going to see my informant." Don't lose focus with this guy. He's skittish, but he could hurt you, Petey. Do you think you can go without me? It's getting kind of late. I promised the wife I'd be home for dinner. It's taco night. Says Pete a little too casual that it triggers Doug. Look, I need you tonight, partner. I promise no more late nights. We really need to chase down this lead, though. Says Doug as they arrive at a condemned house with several drug addicts hovering near the door. There's a lead here? Asked Pete suspiciously. Yes, the guy's name is Omar. He's been hiding out somewhere around here. Get your gun ready just in case, Petey. Says Doug as he turns on the police sirens and the posse of addicts begin to make a run for it. Doug chases a tall, slender man around the corner into the alley and signals Pete to follow him. The two men quickly catch up to Omar, who's panting and sweating excessively. The two officers have the man at gunpoint. Omar is sitting there with his arms raised, panting. Hey, Omar. Hope we didn't blow you high, says Doug casually. But me and my partner, we got some questions for you. End of chapter 1. Chapter 2. The weekend is here, and all the kids at school are discussing their plans and getting ready to head home for the day. Jenny is ecstatic, happy today her plan gets set into motion. So without saying goodbye to her best friends, she heads home to meet with her dad about Jerry. As she arrives through the door, her dad welcomes her, smiling with his shirt off and his hairy chest exposed. She smiles and hugs him anyways. How was your date, Daddy? She asked with a childish tone. Date? Al said confused. Oh, that. Oh, well, it went great, Pumpkin. It's nice to see you're still trying to find love again, Daddy. But we need to talk. About what, sweetie? Asked Al playfully. Don't tell me you have a boyfriend. I'm not ready for all that mushy stuff. You're still my baby. No, it's not that, Daddy. I want Jerry to be my new driver. Roger is old and he wants to retire. But no one knows the city like Roger. He's the best driver I got, says Al. Roger is great, but I really think Jerry would be better so we can talk a little more, Jenny says determined and staring deeply into her father's eyes. Okay, Jenny, says Al a little disappointed he won't be able to finish his necklace this month. But just know, you can't fix your brother, Jenny. He's a lost cause, but I'll humor you, says Al as he walks back in the study and closes the door. Jenny triumphantly runs down the hall to Jerry's room and knocks on his door. Jerry answers and says, What's up, Jen? You're my driver now, Jerry, so don't screw this up, okay? You'll be following Mr. Lehman for the next couple of days. She then reaches in her purse and hands Jerry about $300 of her birthday money, and Jerry takes it. Okay, I'll leave tonight, says Jerry. No, you have to leave now before Dad tells you to do something else, says Jenny sternly. Jerry then packs his things and Jenny's camera and heads out to the Lehman's house. As he arrives, Mr. Lehman is kissing his wife goodbye. He then hops in the backseat of his waiting car and then the car drives away slowly. Jerry follows the car through the busy city and across the Jersey Bridge. The car pulls into a villa in an upscale neighborhood with lots of trees and bushes. Jerry parks on the street a few houses down, where he waits until nightfall. A few hours later, Mr. Lehman returns with a young blonde woman. She's tall and quite attractive to Jerry. Jerry slowly exits the car with the camera and positions himself near the master bedroom window. A few moments later, the blonde walks in the room with some red lingerie and lays on the bed. In comes Mr. Lehman, naked with a bottle of champagne and some whips in his hand. Jerry snaps several incriminating pictures of Mr. Lehman, but he decides to stay a little longer. He retreats back to his car and falls asleep. And around 5:30 in the morning, he's woken up by the sound of Mr. Lehman's car cranking up, and he noticed he's leaving with his golf bags and without the woman. In that moment, Jerry had a weird idea. Maybe he could pay this woman to sleep with him too, if she knew he had the photos. So he decides to sneak back around the back of the house, and to his surprise, the sliding glass door was unlocked. The woman was still sleeping in the bed, so he decides to get into bed with the woman and fondle her. The woman wakes up and screams, "Who are you, you pervert?" says the woman. Hey, no need for name calling. I got some hot pictures of you and Mr. Lehman. So if you don't want this to get out, you're going to be mine too, says Jerry with a calm smirk. But something unexpected happened. The woman begins to scream so loud it caused him to panic. Shut up, says Jerry. All you have to do is sleep with me. I'm not that ugly. But the woman's screams got louder, and in the haste, Jerry picks up the first thing he sees with his mangled left hand and hits her in the head with it. She falls over, dead. Jerry panics and runs back to the car after closing the back door and wiping the door handle, and he begins to drive back to Brooklyn. End of episode 12.